and a very Merry Christmas. This is Christina, and today I would like to show you a card that I made using the new Lovely Critters stem set, and these are our new acrylic blocks. They are actually sold out at the moment, but I will make sure to order some new soon, and maybe we will get some rectangle shapes as well. Today I will be showing you a technique that I just tried out today, and I thought that it looked super cute. I'm using some fun foam as a cushion, and now I'm pressing a die. This is actually our stacked pierced banner die, one of those of the set. I'm pressing that down into my very juicy Versamark ink pad because I want to try to emboss, so kind of stamp with the die. That is the idea that I have. So I'm inking that up very, very well with the VersaFine, and then I'm placing it directly down. And I'm using some scrap paper just to make sure that I don't get any ink that sticks on my fingers onto my work surface. So I'm just trying to push that down really well. That is why I use the fun foam, to make sure I can really get a good impression. You will see that it still looks kind of distressed, so you do not get a perfect impression because it's just metal, and metal is not the perfect material to stamp. But I was quite happy with how this turned out, and I think that you can always use a white gel pen to sharpen your image. This is what I'm going to do later. I'm just using a dry brush to get rid of all the powder that sticks to the pieces where I had some of the wire not cut off. So now heat set that with my heat gun, and now I'm using a white gel pen just to make it a little cleaner. This looked quite distressed. I had really clean edges, but in the center I did not get the best impression, so I just cleaned that up with the white gel pen. And I'm super happy that I could use the die to stamp a frame, because I do not have many stamp stamps, that way around. And I really wanted to have a flat card with some dimension just added by coloring. I will use some polychromos pencils by Faber-Castell. I use them a lot and I love them. And I think using colored pencils on a dark cardstock, this is some Stampin' Up! Tip Top Toppy. I hope this is the right pronunciation. So this is some Tip Top Toppy cardstock, and I think it looks like kind of a warm gray craft kind of color. And these pencils look so great on darker cardstock, so this is just pretty. And I'm starting by using one coat of the lightest green, and then I go on with the second darkest and add my shadows, and then I use the medium color to spread the darker one out and well, get some blend. And then I use the very darkest color just for the very edge to get a little more to accentuate the edges. I'm doing the same with the pink. I'm laying down a soft coat of the lightest color, then I'm going around the edges with the second darkest, and then I use a medium color to blend that out. And I'm using the lightest one again to get a very nice blend. And if you try to get the blend, make sure to go over the darker areas as well, just to make sure you push some of the darker color around. These pencils are kind of wax based, so close to the Prismacolor, but not as soft, I think. And then you can get a nice blend. For the shadows, I'm using a brown color for this card, because this card base is kind of brown. You could also use some white. I will do that later, because I think if you use this technique, it's clever to have some gray, brown and white for little accents, and to, sorry for my hair on the picture. So if you want to have some shadows or highlights or whatever, you should have some brown, gray and white. These are the basics that you will use for well, yes, to add a little bit of a shading around your image. And I'm using a brown one. I made some cards using a white shadow around my images, and that looked quite nice, really. But I thought for this card I wanted the darker shadow. So I'm using a brown and spreading that out and trying to just work the blending out with the pressure. So I'm adding more pressure close to the image and less pressure the further I get away from the image. And I used a soft eraser just to blend it out a little bit more, to soften that out where I had some sharp edges. And I'm using a very dark gray pencil at the very edge, just to make sure that the shadow has a really good impression and a sharp edge. I think this kind of technique, so the shadows around your image, makes your image pop so much more. It adds so much dimension to it, and it makes them stand out. This is just the best way to make them pop off your card. And after I finished that, I used a soft pastel in white. So this is not a polychromos, this is a soft pastel. I tried it for the first time, and I think that it's a little more dry, on the dry side, compared to the polychromos. But it goes on so smoothly, and I really had fun just adding some white highlights to the inner part of the banner. And now I'm using sentiment from that same stamp set, which is called Lovely Critters, and it says from the heart, because all the critters in that stamp set have some hearts on them. So like a heart-shaped nose, heart-shaped feet, heart-shaped whatever, and from the heart goes with all of them very well. And I think a card from the heart is always a good thing to have. To add a little more detail, I use the same die to cut a mask, and then I'm using some Simsets and white pigment ink. I'm super impressed by how well this ink covers. And then I used just some water and added some splatters to the card for some more detail, because I thought that it looked a little too flat and boring, and I wanted to have a little extra, so I just splattered on some of the ink. And this white pigment ink by Simset Stamp is really a nice opaque ink. After I removed the mask, you can see that there are only splatters on the outside and not on the image part. This is what I wanted to achieve, and it worked pretty well. But I thought that the shadows were mixed up a little bit with the white ink, so I decided to go on with a pencil again and just cover the splatters up where they hit the shadows, because I wanted the splatters to look like they are in the background, and they look like they were on top of the shadow, so I just had to cover that. And then I'm using some enamel stickers to finish that off. The colors from this Fruitalicious enamel sheet matched my project perfectly. We have some of this purpley pink and some greens, and that finished off the card for today. It is still flat, it's easy to put in the mail, but it has a lot of dimension and some nice accents to it, and we tried out a new technique. Well, at least this was a new technique for me, to stamp with a die. Thanks so much for watching. I hope you liked this. Please give it a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Bye bye!